Could you forgive betrayal? Imagine this: 11 years of marriage, a child, dreams of the future, and then, one moment, one revelation, and your entire world shatters. The protagonist of this story was just an ordinary guy, working hard, loving his family, doing his best. But behind his back, a different story was unfolding. Suspicious texts, unexpected coincidences, and a single confession from his son changed everything. What does it feel like to uncover the truth when you least expect it? And most importantly, what do you do next? Pain, deception, and yet, a new life is already beginning. Want to know how he handled it all? Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watched this video from. Now, let's get started. Both my wife and I are 35 years old, having been married for about 11 years. We live in a once rural area that has rapidly transformed into a suburban extension of a growing metropolitan city. Back when we graduated high school, our class had just over 200 students. Now, that number has more than doubled, reaching close to 500. I was raised on a farm by my father after my mother walked out and never came back. From a young age, I took on farm duties, working alongside my dad until he eventually decided to lease the land to other farmers and take a job at a factory instead. The income from those leases allowed him to purchase additional property. During the Great Recession, he managed to acquire several more pieces of land, one of which had a house he let me renovate and turn into a home for my future family. Though the property remains in a trust alongside the rest of his land, my wife and I are responsible for all expenses related to it. My wife, on the other hand, came from a lower middle-class background. Her family was always warm and welcoming to me, treating me with kindness and respect. They moved to our town when we were in junior high, and we started dating in high school. Once I secured stable employment, we got married. Before that, I worked any job I could find, hauling junk, painting houses, whatever paid the bills. We now have an 8-year-old son, and my wife stays home to take care of him. I work as a route driver for a major snack company, steadily expanding my territory by ensuring our products reach every mom-and-pop store, grocery shop, and gas station in the area. Since much of the region is still rural, my route covers a large area. The long-term plan was for my wife to eventually take over a second truck as our business grew. With a new supercenter grocery store expected to open next year, securing full ownership of my route could be a major opportunity for us. We've been together since shortly after high school, and though our marriage has been filled with love, it hasn't been without its struggles, largely because of my demanding work hours. I try to be present, but too often, I fall short. Still, we've shared plenty of joy and both adore our son, who is a typical energetic kid, always diving into sports. He played basketball in the winter, baseball in the spring, and now he's all about flag football. This past spring, our marriage hit a rough patch. Recognizing the tension, we had a heart-to-heart and vowed to work on our relationship. From late April to mid-June, our intimacy soared. We couldn't get enough of each other. Honestly, I could barely keep up, juggling both work and our renewed passion. Still, I managed to stay on top of my route. Meanwhile, our son was deep into baseball season. I never missed a game, but my work schedule kept me from attending many practices. It's common for dads to volunteer as assistant coaches, but that wasn't an option for me. My wife, however, stepped in whenever needed. His baseball coach, Benjamin, had once been married to a close friend of mine from high school, Miranda. She was the smartest person in our class and had gone off to college, where she met Benjamin. They married young and had a son the same age as ours. Unfortunately, their marriage fell apart. 3 years ago, Miranda moved back to town, leaning on her parents for help with childcare. Benjamin followed a year later, presumably to be near his son, perhaps even hoping to reconcile with Miranda. By June, my wife and I started slipping back into our old patterns. We had another serious talk in July, reaffirming our commitment to each other. We even went on vacation, hoping to reset, but the spark remained inconsistent. Then, in mid-August, things heated up between us again, only for the passion to completely disappear by September. Around that time, our son started flag football and absolutely loved it. One evening, I dropped by practice and was surprised to see my wife standing next to Benjamin, clipboard in hand, helping run drills. Several other dads were also involved. When I asked her about it later, my son eagerly corrected me. She wasn't just assisting, she was officially a coach. Apparently, when she signed him up, she volunteered as an assistant. The role quickly became a huge time commitment. She was always on her phone, mostly texting, sometimes making calls, though when I was around, it was mostly just texts. Every day after school, she and our son went to Benjamin's house, where he trained both boys in football. Their extra practice was paying off. Our son and Benjamin's son were becoming standouts on the team. Then came the first game. After finishing my shift that morning, I arrived at the field to watch. My wife and Benjamin stood side by side, giving directions to the team. As I settled into my seat, someone placed a chair next to mine, Miranda. We watched together, and at halftime, she turned to me with a serious look and asked how my marriage was going. I told her everything was fine. She didn't seem convinced. After hesitating for a moment, she told me something her son had shared with her. On a rainy afternoon, when training was canceled, our boys stayed inside playing video games at Benjamin's house. At one point, her son went to grab more juice from the kitchen, only to witness Benjamin and my wife kissing. Shocked, he ran back to the game and later confided in Miranda that night. Every morning, I wake up at 4 a.m. to drive 45 minutes to my warehouse and start my shift. But that Monday, I set my alarm even earlier, 3:30 a.m. While my wife slept, I grabbed her phone. After several failed attempts, I finally cracked her passcode. As I scrolled through her messages, I found an endless thread of texts, some explicit, along with revealing photos she had sent. Without hesitation, I took screenshots of the evidence, and from that moment, everything changed. I typically reserved a day each week to spend in town, though on occasion, I would return home for lunch. Whenever I decided to surprise her, especially during times when our closeness was at its peak, I often found the house empty. Calling her never yielded an answer. More than once, while driving past Benjamin's house, I spotted her car parked in his driveway. At the end of my workday, she would later claim she had been out shopping. She'd apologize for not being home when I arrived, and I would reassure her that my visit had simply been an unplanned surprise, nothing to be concerned about. The following week, I deliberately informed her ahead of time that I'd be coming home for lunch again. Parking a short distance away from Benjamin's place, I waited. Somehow, she failed to notice my truck. A few minutes later, she hurried out, jumped into her car, and raced home. I followed at a normal speed, and by the time I walked through the door, she was already in the kitchen, preparing me a sandwich. We had a light-hearted conversation over lunch. Later that Saturday, after my son's game, I took him home to change before dropping him off at my father's place. They had plans to fish, and if he felt like it, he could go for a swim. Once again, when I returned home, she wasn't there. I drove past Benjamin's house, and just as I expected, her car was parked outside. I called her. When she finally picked up, she sounded annoyed. I asked her what she was doing there. Silence. I told her to get dressed and come home. By the time she arrived, I was already seated at the table, waiting. She stormed in, furious that I would even suggest something was going on. I asked her to sit down. She refused, growing more defensive. I spoke with more authority, telling her to stop yelling and take a seat. I had something to show her. I had a folder with me. She demanded to know what was inside. I insisted she sit first. Then, one by one, I placed screenshots of her text messages in front of her. Her fury escalated as she berated me for going through her phone. That's when I revealed the most incriminating messages. She scrambled for excuses. But when I pulled out the explicit photos, She fell silent. That was it. I told her she had until the following Sunday. Come Monday, I'd be meeting with a lawyer. She needed to gather her clothes and personal belongings. The rest could be settled later. She broke down, sobbing, apologizing over and over. I asked her a question I had once seen in an advice thread. What did you think was going to happen? She had no answer. There was nothing left to say. Since then, I've been staying at my father's house. On Sunday, I brought my son back home so he could catch his school bus the next morning. I explained to him that while his mother and I wouldn't be living together anymore, he would still remain in his home. When I arrived home that evening, all of her belongings were gone. We had agreed she would pick up our son after school. She had the option to stay with him at the house until I returned or take him to her parents' place. No matter what had transpired, she was still his mother, and we had to navigate co-parenting together. The divorce process is now underway. She will be officially served next week. I won't have the papers delivered in public. I refuse to humiliate her like that. I've already informed her they're coming. She asked to retrieve a few more items from the house. My lawyer advised against it. If she wanted anything, she could file a formal request with the court. I believe the term he used was petition. I don't have strong attachments to most of the household items, so she will likely get whatever she asks for. Interestingly, what she wants isn't clothing or makeup. People often ask me what she's doing now. She's still living at her parents' house. My son spends his afternoons there until I get off work. I've made it a point to finish by 5 p.m., avoiding extra hours. My attorney is coordinating with another lawyer to ensure my business remains protected during the proceedings. Even my father stepped in, offering to buy my work route and keep me on as an employee if necessary. I understand that child support is inevitable. Custody will be shared. The nights feel lonelier once my son is asleep, but I'm finding ways to keep myself occupied. A few projects have helped me stay focused. Friends have rallied around me, whether by offering to babysit or bringing over meals. Last Saturday at my son's game, instead of spreading out along the sidelines, most of the parents pulled their chairs close to mine. That meant a lot. We only have one more game before playoffs, and then the season will wrap up. Next, basketball season begins. Every parent I've spoken to plans to request that Benjamin not be assigned as their child's coach. Many people have also asked about Miranda. She's been a close friend for years, and some wonder if we'll end up together. Right now, I'm still healing from everything that happened. My only priority is adjusting to this new reality and being there for my son. I once mentioned that Miranda was the smartest student in our class. She's truly exceptional. I feel like I'd only hold her back. Besides, we're both dealing with a lot. Her ex even moved back recently, maybe in an attempt to reconcile. This story has come to an end. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, but once broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. Betrayal isn't just about cheating. It's about destroying everything that was built over the years. When problems arise in a marriage, they should be faced together, not avoided through deceit. The truth always comes out, and once trust is shattered, things are never the same. But betrayal is not the end. It's an opportunity to reflect, learn, and move forward toward a future built on honesty, respect, and real love. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.